In this lesson, you're going to learn how to troubleshoot a connectivity issue between the Azure pipeline and the Azure VM that has been created here. Let's look at the issue first. So we see that it could not connect to the Docker daemon at this host. The first thing to check is the connection string here, or the connectivity. So this is connecting to 104.42.152.72. Let's find out if the IP address of the host is correct. 104.42.152.72. The IP address is absolutely correct. However, everything else seems to be fine. I mean, it's taking it from the service connections. So the next thing that I want to check is go to that server, the server with this IP, which is my Windows host here, and find out if Docker daemon is running and it is configured to accept connections on 2376 port. So let's go to the settings, check whether the Docker daemon is running here. Docker is running, that looks fine. Docker engine has already been configured to listen on the TCP port. 0000 indicates all interfaces, which is even better. So this is listening on all the interfaces on that host. So it's running on 2376 port. The Docker daemon itself is running. So next thing that we'll have to figure out is whether there is a connectivity issue between the pipeline here, this environment here, and the Docker host itself. So let's find out if we can connect to the Docker host from anywhere outside actually, right? So I have this command that I've shown you earlier. I had used this to validate the connection. So I connected to the TCP port on the local host. Now let's simulate a situation where you have a connection coming from outside. So if I change the IP address here to the public IP, it will actually go to the internet and come back. So let me find out the public IP here and add it to this one. So this is almost equivalent to how my Azure Devops environment would connect to this Docker host, right? So it's connecting using the same IP address and port. HTTPS is fine here because it's using TLS actually, so that is not a problem. Now this seems to be a problem. Now how do you debug these kind of network issues? So it's taking so long. I suspect there is a firewall problem, right? So how do you debug these issues is you need some tool or utility to actually find out whether you can access this port 2376 on this IP. So the utility that I would suggest is Nmap. Let's have a look at how to install Nmap on Windows first. I already have it installed. I'll show you the process first and then I'll come back and debug. Installing Nmap is fairly straightforward. You go to the Nmap site or search for Nmap download. This is nmap.org/download. And then you select the exe, and rest of the steps is just very simple. Just follow the follow the wizard, and there you go. So you should have it installed, and once it is installed, you will see an icon available on your desktop as well. All right, now that you've Nmap installed, it's time to find out whether we can access this port on this particular host. So note down the IP. Nmap allows you to, or it does a port scanning actually. So you define the IP address and you find out, you can just go and check which all ports are available or not, right? So you can do all of those kind of scans. There are multiple options here. The one I typically would use is the port scan, with a specific port number. So I'll just call this as a regular scan. You can see the command here actually, and then you want to find out whether the specific port is available or not. You can use the port number here with -p small p option 2376. Let's do the scan. All right. A lot of times what happens is most of the cloud platforms block the ping. So it is using the network ping. Ping uses ICMP protocol. That ICMP protocol is typically blocked. How do you work without it is use -pn option also. So just add one more option, -pn scan. This will work. Okay, this seems to be the problem. So if you see 2376 on this IP is filtered. If you say filtered, it is definitely a firewall problem. This is how you can actually figure out what problem is this. All right, so we're going to continue this debugging for the next lesson.